and he plans to continue at IFS for high school and aspires to be the next Steve Jobs. Now we will have Sister Nusayba Malik, who will translate what Brother Mustafa just read. She is also an 8th grader at IFS. She is the Vice President of the Middle School Student Council, enjoys horseback riding, volleyball, and volunteering. Sister Nusayba?
In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of His signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your languages and your colors. Indeed, in that are signs for those of knowledge. O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female, and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted.
Takbir! Give Sister Nusayba a round of applause. Now with the flag presentation and the pledge will be Brother Umar Haq and his Cub Scouts. Boy Scouts.
Troop attention! Call guard attention! Call guard halt! Call guard cross the collars! Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Return to ranks.
Thank you, Brother Umar and the Boy Scouts. Now with the welcome from the Islamic Foundation is Sister Nosheen Akhtar.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon all of you. On behalf of Islamic Foundation and its board, we are here today. We are honored to have members of all faith communities, civic organizations, including the Council of Islamic Organizations for Greater Chicago and its partners, who have joined us today to come together for a common cause. No ban, no wall. Also welcome leadership from multiple mosques throughout the city, and we are especially honored to have stand with us our representatives, Senior U.S. State Senator Richard Durbin, and U.S. Representative from Illinois' 8th Congressional District, Raja Krishnamurthy. Islamic Foundation has deep roots in Chicago for over 40 years, serving a large, diverse Muslim community in the western suburbs. The children at our full-time and weekend schools identify themselves as 100% American. Our mosque also has sought to be a bridge builder with other faith and civic organizations, striving to be inclusive for all. These efforts, I believe, are reflected in the diverse community and friendships that stand with us today as we discuss very serious civil liberty questions. The Muslim ban is now in the hands of the courts. Many of our communities realize that the Muslim ban offends the very core of our human values. It is our common human tradition to welcome the stranger and to take care of those in need. Muslims are also concerned that this may be the first step by the administration to harass our community. We need our partners and friends now more than ever and are heartened by the response that we have seen here today and throughout the country at airports and rallies. Islam teaches us to stand up firmly for justice, take care of neighborly needs, and to have patience in times of adversity. Therefore, we take up this call today. No ban, no wall, justice for all.
Thank you, Sister Nosheen. Dr. Nosheen Akhtar has grown up at the Islamic Foundation. She is a cardiologist working at Northwestern. She is also a Sunday school teacher and the organizer with the Muslim Leadership Academy of the Islamic Foundation, and is an active member of the Islamic Foundation Interfaith community. So give Sister Nosheen another round of applause. Now to give the CIOGC welcome will be Chairman Dr. Bassam Usman.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. So welcome you all to this important function that was organized by our new Civic Engagement Council headed by Dr. Sahrul. As you know, the CIOGC is the umbrella organization for more than 60 mosques, schools, and Islamic organizations. It has elections every 2 years, and yours truly is the new chairman. So we need your support, we need your suggestions, your input, and your dua. What is happening today is bigotry is not new. I remember when I reached a certain milestone in my career, one of my colleagues came and told me, "You are almost white." So I told him, well, aren't we all have to strive to achieve the state of whiteness? He didn't get it. So I told him, you remind me of Archie Bunker, except you're not funny. So this ugliness is not new. What is new is the extent that it has reached. What's new is that racist and xenophobic and Islamophobic and bigots need not hide now, need not pretend. All these values in the eyes of many are now the official policy of the US government with Bannon at the helm. Not long ago, a few months ago, Michelle Obama was giving a speech, a campaign speech. And she said if the other would discriminate against Latinos, we would not accept this. If he would discriminate against Muslims, we would not accept this. If he would build a wall, we would not accept this. If he banned refugees, we would not accept this. Then she said, and still that is ringing in my ears, Latinos are us. Refugees are us. Muslims are us. Of course, she can't say this. Barack Obama cannot say this. Cannot say this for us. So please, I felt so proud of America when I heard her say this. So please repeat after me. Latinos are us.
Latinos are us.
Refugees are us.
Refugees are us.
Muslims are us.
Muslims are us.
Thank you.
Americans are us.
So at the end, I will end with a short prayer. In these challenging times, we turn to you, Lord. You are the Lord of the sick, and you are the Lord of the poor. You are the Lord of the Muslim. You are the Lord of the Christian, and you are the Lord of the Jew. You are the Lord of the documented, and you are the Lord of the undocumented. You are the Lord of the refugee, and you are the Lord of all. You are the Lord of people on this side of the border, and you are the Lord of people on the other side of the border. All these are your creation and your children. Oh Lord, make us love all your children. Make us serve all your children. Make us be compassionate to all your children. Oh Lord, you are the creator of the heaven, and you are the creator of the earth. This earth is your earth. This land is your land. It is not Trump's land. Oh Lord, give us the resolve, give us the determination, give us the strength to say what is right, to do what is right, and to stand all in solidarity and resilience. Amen.
That will talk about the executive order, the legal ramifications, the do's and don'ts. First up, we have Attorney Thomas Durkin from Durkin and Roberts. So please take it away.
Assalamu alaikum. And I just expended all of my Arabic, and you'll have to excuse my Southside Irish Catholic accent. I'm sure it doesn't do justice to anything.
We have a first grade class.
But that's only fitting because there's not a lot of justice left in this country right now. This is about my third time here, and I feel like I'm a broken record, although the difference today is that the size of the crowd, and I'm incredibly encouraged by that. Years ago, when we first started fighting the war on terror and the discrimination against Islam that is implicit in that, people had to come out, people had to organize. Islam, American Muslims had to identify and get out with everyone else. And I'm delighted to hear the chant that Dr. just said. I hope that includes the Irish as well. I hope the Irish and the Catholics. And to the extent the Catholic Church has not stood by you enough, I would call on them to do so once again. And at least we think we have a Pope now who's going to lead that charge. But the simple fact of the matter is we're in big trouble. Well, we're in a lot bigger trouble than we think. Insofar as the order, the executive order involving the immigration, everything will hinge on a court decision tomorrow in San Francisco in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the Court of Appeals for the Western states. It is involving the decision from the Washington Federal Court. It's in a case captioned State of Washington versus Donald Trump and others. And it's on an appeal from the United States District Court from the Western District of Washington. This is the appeal that was issued, the order that was entered by Judge Robards, I believe is his name, I may not be, which has imposed a national stay on the executive order, or a ban on any enforcement of it, which the Department of Homeland Security and the State Department have gone along with and have suspended any enforcement of the order. But I'm here to tell you, I think if you have any relatives that are overseas, get them on planes now, as quickly as they can, because I'm not sure that this order by Judge Robards is going to last very long. And the simple reason for that is that we have abandoned in this country any judicial or congressional review of matters involving national security. And if you read this brief, I have a copy of it, I can leave it here if you want to copy it for people. But the simple fact of the matter is, just like we've been arguing in all the criminal cases on the war on terror particularly United States versus Adel Dayoud, which has already gone to the Seventh Circuit. We have, both Congress and the judiciary has deferred all matters of national security to the executive branch or the president himself. And I guess everybody thought that was okay as long as we liked who the president was, particularly those of us who like President Obama. But the fact of the matter is that the national security state has grown exponentially from 9/11, started well before 9/11. This is no secret. This is one of those secrets that is out in plain sight. It's been happening since 1947 with the establishment of the National Security Act by Harry Truman. This is no accident. We have a huge national security state now that is oppressive and has essentially given all power to the executive, which is why we have criminal cases in the federal court now that simply cannot be reviewed. That's why we now have secret evidence in federal courts, and for hours, but nobody wants to hear that. But what's going to come back to haunt us, and I mean all of us here who want some degree of civil liberties in this country, we cannot continue to have unfettered discretion in the executive when the executive declares this is a matter of national security. And that's exactly what's happening here. The first, in the first paragraph of the brief, the line that's most powerful is that this order second guesses the President's national security judgment about the quantum of risk posed by admission of certain classes of aliens and the best means of minimizing that risk, which effectively means Muslims from those countries simply can't, which is absurd, of course. I think we were very fortunate last week to have some success with Dr. Al-Hamzi. He was the doctor from
Christ.
the IC. We were able to file a lawsuit challenging that. And fortunately, as I've said in the press since then, we're quick to see that this was a situation that needed an exception. I'm not so sure how many more of those exceptions are going to be granted, because I'm going to predict that this order will not, the order by the judge in Seattle will not last. But I hope it does. If it does, then maybe we can do something. I think the only hope we have, and somebody said, that we're going to become white. There's a fantastic book by an author by the name of Ignatieff. It's called How the Irish Became White. I'm happy to report that my people were thought to be black as well. History has a way of repeating itself in this country. But I think the real message has to be that the Democratic Party has to be put on notice, including Senator Durbin, who's been kind enough to come. But they have to be put on notice that there has to be opposition, that the Democratic Party cannot any longer pretend that it's the Republican Party on the Republican. This is not a time for a third party. This is a time to tell the only party that will at least fulfill liberties in this country and for the poor and the working class, which they've completely abandoned, is the Democrats. And I don't get usually involved in partisan politics, but that's the today. If we don't have an opposition party in this country, we will not have a democracy if we have one at all now. We will not have a rule of law, that is law today. There are too many exceptions to the rule of law. It's called the state of exception. It's all based on the state of emergency, and that's what's happening. We are about to have a state of emergency imposed on us by this lunatic, and that's what's going to happen if we don't have an opposition party in Congress. And I'll leave you with this. There is a tremendous article in this week's London Review of Books, and I have copies here. I can leave to have copies as well. It's called Act 1, Scene 1 by Professor David Bromwich of Yale, B-R-O-M-W-I-C-H. I recommend it to everyone because he hits it exactly on the head as to how we got where we are, and the only way that we can get out of it would be with an opposition party. And I'll leave you with that, with one word. Opposition means to resist, and that means get out in the street. There is a national march of lawyers on February 17th. I think it's at 12 or 1 o'clock. I would ask that every lawyer in the United States participate in it. I think I would ask that the next time there's a women's march, everybody here be out on the street with us as well. That's the only way that these people will listen, if they can listen at all.
Thank you, Mr. Durkin. Now we will have Sister Maria Muzaffar from CARE Chicago.
Hello? Shalom? Hello? Good afternoon. We as a community are exactly where we need to be. As Americans, as Muslim Americans, Jewish Americans, and Christians. We are being called to stand up for our values. So let me be clear about what the facts are, because the media has a great way of spinning things. And another good spinner is President Donald Trump. So let's oppose this a little bit. Please move closer to mic. Can you hear me? Perfect. So the Constitution is in place to protect our rights. But it's also in place to oppose people that do not want our rights to be protected. Donald Trump, when he came in as President of the United States, he wanted to find loopholes in the Constitution. Does anybody do business here? How do you like it when a business partner finds loopholes?
Great.
Great, right? What if he is finding loopholes to further his interests that doesn't work for the business? This is a businessman trying to find loopholes in a document that is not a contract. It's the Constitution of the United States. So how do we deal with that? Number one, we understand the intent of the individual that is trying to find loopholes. What is the intent of Donald Trump? Number one, a complete shutdown of Muslims. Isolating the Muslim American society and community apart from the United States. Number two, let's limit the amount of Muslims that come into our country. Stated in the order, how many of them are tied to terrorist attacks on this soil? Zero. However, these 7 countries in 2016 had the largest number of refugees coming into this country. So very simple. He looked at the top 7 countries, also identified in the previous administration, and said this is where all of them are coming from. Let's stop them in their tracks. Number 2, we want to give preference to Christians who are being persecuted in Muslim countries. Do 2 things, conquer and divide. Divide Christians and Muslims as the narrative in this country, and then pretend that you are promoting equal rights and promoting protecting persecution while just focusing on one group while alienating the others. Is there a narrative in this country where Christians and Muslims do not stand together? Is there a narrative like that? No. So this is a businessman trying to pull tricks on you. And you know what the best way to deal with a businessman who's trying to act like he's president? Is know yourself. So here's the thing that went wrong with President Trump's plan. He did not focus on loopholes. He actually took another step. He put things in the order that are unconstitutional. Oh, and then you'll say, but no, it's not unconstitutional because he never stated Muslims. Well, let me say this. According to the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, you need two things to prove: intent and effect, that you're actually limiting the free. The intent is where? In his interviews? Did he say he wants to stop Muslims from coming into this country? Yes? What is the effect of his intent? Revocation of visas? So he actually did not find a loophole. He actually violated the document. He went on to say in his executive order that we will scrutinize the individuals to say, do you love the country? Do you support American principles? Do you support American people? And then he added two very interesting things that were supposed to be the loophole. And he stated, if there's anybody who supports honor killings or the oppression of women, these two things are heard where? Negative falsehoods and stereotypes of the Muslim American community. He actually took the things that people spread rumors about as being a mass practice about Islam in the executive order. Who do you think he's talking about? Muslims. Section 10 of the executive order. This is fantastic. This one is my favorite. He says, person who is charged, a foreign national, who is charged with a crime, their information will be publicly shared. So, if I was falsely accused of something, I wasn't convicted. I was falsely accused of something. My information and the charge will be public to everybody. My neighbors will know about it. My community will know about it. So what that does is create a huge category of nationals from foreign countries looking like they're crime offenders, right? That is the first step of dehumanizing a population. Do you know who else did that? The Nazis. Because they treated the Jewish population as a threat, as people that were nothing more than committing crimes and chaos in a society. Well, here's the deal. Statistically, he's in trouble. Because the American Muslims have the highest rates of income and education. So you know what that means? When Mr. Spicer states, you know, the people that are talking about it, the people that are debating it, they haven't even read it. It's 5 pages long. This community is educated enough to read it, to understand it, and oppose it.
It's 0 minute now.
So let me say this. When we talk about public policy, and we talk about creating a narrative of what is correct and just in this country, you know who's on the front lines? The people on the streets for sure. And we've done that, and we're going to continue to do that. But so are the congressional representatives. They represent us. They cannot hide behind meetings. They cannot hide behind minutes of meetings. They have to take a stand. And this is what happens when you represent one of the most educated communities in the country. You don't get to tell us that it's gray. There's parts of it that are black and white. And we expect congressional representatives to oppose. Not only oppose, but push bills that say that the morality of this order is against the United States. The identity of the Muslim community is something that is an addition to the United States, an asset. Right now, there is a bill that has been put forth in Congress, in the House. How many of you know about it? Nobody. A few people. Wouldn't you think that if there was a bill in Congress against the executive order, everybody would know about it? Why don't they? A couple people do. The reason is because with the political office and the positions of elected officials, sometimes it's a good idea to pass a bill, sometimes it's good to sponsor it, but what if something goes wrong? What if there's an attack by a Somali immigrant? Oh no, I've screwed up. So Congress, they should be loud and proud that they've sponsored it. Jan Schakowsky is a co-sponsor of such a bill. Everybody in this room needs to call her, congratulate her, and help her. And I will tell you this, I will be asking the same of Senator Durbin. Because it's good for many elected officials who have already said there's a bill coming, there's a bill coming. You know what? The bill that's in the Congress is 8 lines long. So my ask here is that there be a bill in the Senate that opposes the executive order, and we set a precedent that when something comes from the executive branch, we not only oppose it in the courts, we not only oppose it in the streets, but we oppose it within Congress as constituents and as
We are going to give a 30 seconds pause.
You might sit in the front here. This is for Durbin. Yeah, but that's good. They don't have and
For the people who are standing in the back, there are seats, there's gaps, there's seats.
Country of national origin. And the ACLU is going to do whatever it can to do with President Trump exactly what we have done in the nearly 100 years of our history. We're going to see him in court. The ACLU and many of our allies and many private attorneys around the country went to court within hours of the executive orders being issued. We will continue to assert the legal rights of all of us. Our Constitution protects freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, and freedom against discrimination. And we intend to continue to press those points regardless of the Trump administration's attempt to hide behind the false curtain of national security. It is a powerful curtain. I do not dispute that, but we have all got to stand united in assuring our country and everyone in it that Muslims are not a threat to our national security. And that it is unconstitutional and un-American to suggest otherwise. So let me tell you what else we need to do. We do need to tell our members of Congress in the Democratic Party, which is leading the opposition, that it has to be strong and it has to oppose these measures. But we can't stop there. We cannot give the Republican members of Congress a pass. Randy Wolfson, Adam Kinzinger, Peter Roska, Rodney Daniels from down in Champaign.
Where are they?
John Shimkus. Where are they? They need to hear from us, they need to hear from constituents in their districts that the Republican Party, which obviously controls both houses of Congress, also takes an oath to the Constitution, and we the people expect them to live up to it. And we need to make sure that they get that message every day, day in and day out. And the other thing we need to support each other, and we need to support the advocacy organizations like CARE like the ACLU, like the council, that make these arguments and do this work. And so at that point, I'm getting the 1 minute mark, which expired probably a long time ago. So thank you for being here. And I have one final remark and one caveat. Do not be afraid, and do not be afraid to reach out to us at the ACLU.
ACLU has done such a phenomenal job. We have to recognize more than we have. So I'm going to say ACLU and you. Is that ACLU? We all love you. ACLU. We all love you. ACLU. We all love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Speaker, I just wanted to remind everyone, if you are live tweeting the event, use the hashtags #NoBan_NoWall and Justice for All. Make sure you use those. We want to make people know that we had a big turnout here. So don't forget to do that. Next, we will have a rep from the Muslim Bar Association, Sister Amina Saeed.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everybody.
Closer to the microphone.
Yes.
E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. This is the motto of our beautiful nation. The mission statement, if you will. It is carried by the bald eagle in its beak on the great seal of our nation. And we are reminded of it daily when we hold in our hand the currency that we use, because it is imprinted on our currency. E pluribus unum, words to live by for every American. Yet our nation's 45th president, one Donald J. Trump, has made it abundantly clear that he has absolutely no interest in upholding this bedrock principle of our democracy. He ran a campaign based on divisiveness and has spent the first 2 weeks carrying out his promises. The Affordable Care Act, the wall, rights of many minority communities have all been affected. And we saw the outcome of his hate speech close to us yesterday with the attack on our brothers and sisters at the Loop Synagogue. We, the people, and specifically the Muslim community, stand with them. E pluribus unum. On January 27th, President Donald Trump recklessly signed the executive order banning people from the United States based solely on their faith and national origin. He did this to fulfill his campaign promise to institute, quote, a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what is going on, unquote. December 2015. This isn't, though, the first time that E pluribus unum has been violated by executive order in our country. Perhaps the first time was when 1851, Indian reservations were established to push Native Americans further west into unwanted lands. That order was signed by President Grant. And of course, as you all know, has been on the minds of many Muslims, practically all Muslims, since the November election results, comes Executive Order signed in 1942 by President Roosevelt, enacting internment camps for Japanese Americans. That was, yes, by executive order as well. But I want to remind you that executive orders can also carry good. For example, the Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order. Many civil rights era acts, like affirmative action, and equal employment opportunity laws were enacted by executive order, so there can be good. But in this case, Congress wasn't given the opportunity to review the order, and neither were any of the departments that were impacted by the order. What has happened has been chaos, confusion. Lawyers, unfortunately, have had to work pretty much sleeplessly for the last week and a half to deal with this mass problem. Practically every immigration attorney I know has been on the forefront, has been at O'Hare, has been in their offices advocating on the phone, constantly dealing with this, trying to help as many people as we can, and we're not going to stop. I'm going to take just one more minute, if I may. Let's be real. Where this is going to come out and play is the Supreme Court. That's where this is headed. And that's why it's really important that we follow what is happening in the Supreme Court. The Muslim community, the Muslim lawyers community is doing all we can to make sure that we stand up and show the Supreme Court the right side that they should, the right side of history that they need to stand on. Very quick, I just want to tell you the number of pro bono hours that have been given by Muslim lawyers as well as lawyers all over the country in the last few days amounted to thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal fees, all pro bono. There have been law for example, for the lawyers who are working at O'Hare, a law firm donated printers, they donated a Wi-Fi network, and then they sent their IT guy to O'Hare to set up the Wi-Fi network just for the lawyers to use. That's pretty impressive. So, know that we are not alone. The Muslim Bar Association is a small organization. Our numbers are few compared to the legal community at large, but we are not alone. We have the support of the entire legal community. Many people have expressed support. Tomorrow we are standing with the Illinois State Bar Association, the Chicago Bar Association, and many other bar associations downtown for a press conference about the order, and our president, Azam Nizamuddin, will be speaking. Please remember, we are ready, and we are in it for the long haul. The Muslim legal community will be standing with you, and we will be standing together to make sure that we do not allow the alt-right clash of civilization ideology to take over America.
It's a joy to be here and give you good news. This morning, I went to the airport very early in the morning, and I bring back a report of joyful family reunions at O'Hare Airport. I want to tell one story about a family that I just left together at the airport. The father was so carved. He may be still looking for his car. Senator Durbin's office, Cynthia Magella, who's here, wonderful Palestinian-American Director of Constituent Affairs, called me Friday and said, "Can you help this family pro bono?" And I said, "Of course." And it was a story of a wonderful refugee story. I want to tell you that story because we need to, and you'll be hearing them on TV tonight and on the radio and the Washington Post and in the Tribune tomorrow. They were all interviewed. Abdu Saber came here 17 years ago from Ethiopia, an Ethiopian Muslim with 6 brothers and sisters and his mother. And they went to Portland, Oregon. And from there he went to Stanford and got a BS degree. Then from there he went to Yale and he got a degree in public health, a master's degree. And from there he went to Rockford where he studies at the University of Illinois Medical School. And 5 years ago he married this wonderful woman, Haifa. And they have a daughter who's a U.S. citizen because along the way, Abdu Saber became a U.S. citizen, a naturalized U.S. citizen. And Haifa was in Yemen, where Abdu Saber has an aunt. They have a child born in Yemen. And then war broke out in Yemen, and during the process of his trying to bring her here, she had to flee to Ethiopia. And she was stuck there for several years while they processed the immigration paperwork. And a week ago Saturday, she was scheduled to be on a flight to the United States, to Chicago. And what happened? When she got to the airport, she was told she couldn't board because of the executive order. And when I first spoke to him on Friday, I said, I'm not sure I have good news for you, or whether how long it will be, or the fight we're going to have to fight to get your wife here and your daughter here. And then Friday night, I heard from someone on the inside of CBP saying they know that the flights are opening. So I called Abdul Saber, and today his wife arrived at 10:15. There are many, many other people coming today and tomorrow. And it's urgent that if you know people outside the United States who have non-immigrant visas or first-time immigrant visas or coming for the first time as refugees, they need to get on these flights as soon as possible. There are lawyers there, and we are working together. And I want to say one more thing. I am so firmly committed to fighting against Islamophobia because of my family's experience with Muslims. My family fled Romania in 1897. My grandmother was 3 years old. And they went to a land they knew to be a good land, the Ottoman Empire, that used to rule the Romania and treated Jews well. And so my family were refugees in the Muslim world. And I need to tell you, we were well treated. And my grandmother taught me to respect Islam and respect Muslims. I want to give you all a message. You need to open your lives, your communities, your mosques, your homes to non-Muslim Americans so they don't fear Islam and they see the wonderful things. We have the fight of our lives on our hands, and we're going to win this fight. And we need to build the biggest tent possible. Arabs understand, Muslims understand tents, Jews understand tents. Our tent has to be for everyone who is vulnerable at this time, and all our allies. Let's fight, let's win. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Alia from DuPage United. She is an active member of the Islamic Foundation community. She holds a master's degree in teaching and curriculum instruction. She is a writer and author who works with DuPage United to promote peace, understanding amongst all.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. My name is Alia Hussein. I am first and foremost a Muslim. My grandparents were American. My parents are American citizens. I am an American citizen born in the great state of New York, who moved here 20 years ago and now call myself a proud Illinois resident. I attend the Islamic Foundation, and I'm a leader with DuPage United, an affiliate of the Industrial Areas Foundation. DuPage United is a nonpartisan citizens organization. We act on social and economic issues impacting our community. DuPage United's sister organizations in Illinois are United Power for Action and Justice in Cook County, Lake County United in Lake County, and the Fox River Valley Initiative in Kane County. Their member institutions include congregations, schools, nonprofits, unions, associations, and mosques, of which there are over 7. Over the years, mosques have valued from the relationship of these organizations. In 2011, DuPage United helped the Mecca Center change a county zoning law banning the construction of new religious institutions. Not only did this ordinance impact mosques, it impacted all religions. We organized We acted with people who were different from us, and we changed the ordinance. The new Mecca Center opened this month, alhamdulillah. Last February, we launched a solidarity campaign between Muslims and non-Muslims to counter the Islamophobia that was taking place in the county at that time. 800 people attended that event, so many of whom are here today, and it brings me such joy to see all of you in our space tonight, or to this afternoon. We are now initiating a prepared response campaign to meet with national, state, county, and local officials to identify allies and partners in safety, to be prepared ahead of any incident of hate, acting proactively. Following this meeting, we will ask Senator Durbin for a meeting for our 4 organizations and ask him to work with us on not just this issue, but issues that impact Muslims and everyone else, like reducing the number of persons with mental illness who are incarcerated, who need housing, and who are desperate for jobs. Being a part of DuPage United has given me a safe place to be an American Muslim and an active citizen of this country. I welcome you all to join us, extend our hands. We are here as one community, one family, one citizenry. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you, Sister Alia. Now we will move to the part of the program where we will have our interfaith partners speak. First, we will have Father Brendan of Dominican University and promoters of Dominicans Midwest, USA.
No ban, no wall. No ban, no wall. My name is Father Brendan Curran. I'm a proud representative and Dominican sisters, brothers, and Dominican family within the Catholic Church. I am proud to remember that in this day, as I reflect and see each of you, I'm reminded of our roots of Abraham and his family, who with a welcoming spirit were blessed by God to guide a community to new. I'm blessed and touched by remembering of the same experience throughout history of Joseph and Mary, who were called out of their home, a child Jesus. I'm proud to remember also here in this state of Illinois, over 100 years ago, a man from the state, Abraham Lincoln, stood up as guardian of liberty, fought passionately that this nation under God have a new birth of freedom. I'm called to stand up with you. Now is not the time to turn away from plight, oppression, and desperation. It is not the time to turn away from each of you, my Muslim sisters and brothers. Now is not the time to turn away or a deaf ear from those in our community who are stuck in an airport without access to a lawyer, in the midst of silence, intimidated, and even signing a document of signing away their own residency in the United States of America that we believe is a nation of immigrants. I must stand up and recognize that this executive order gives aid and comfort to those forces who are bent on willful destruction. It harkens back to the darker moments of our own history, of slavery, of declaring under law that some are not even human, of selecting out immigrants in 1917 amidst the politics of fear in World War I, of rounding up Japanese in internment camps in the hushed silences of World War II, of bigoted laws declaring that some must be segregated or some must sit in the back of a bus. I must stand up, I must speak. We have to stand up today also to honor that it has been 50 years since the assassination of our brother Martin Luther King Jr., who stood up and called not just African Americans, but together joined a movement with Irish immigrant Catholic sisters, Muslim clerics, the Amish, and so many religious leaders to stand for what is right and just, who called us to stand together despite bigotry, despite tear gas, beatings, dogs, and even the bombings of 4 little innocent girls at church, a minister of faith declared, "I have a dream." I am a Catholic priest who stands boldly with you at this most honorable task of giving thanks to God, giving thanks to Allah for the courage and strength that we share, even the words of my tradition from Pope Francis. It is time to put aside fear, join together to recover who we are and what we represent to a world badly in need of hope and solidarity. Let us not avoid a common temptation nowadays to discard whatever proves troublesome. Let us remember the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This points us in a clear direction. Let us treat others with the same passion and compassion with which we ourselves wish and demand to be treated. Let us seek for others the same possibilities with which we seek ourselves. Let us help one another grow as we would like to be helped ourselves. In a word, if we want security, let us give security to others. If we want life, let us give life. If we want opportunities, let us provide opportunities. May we always remember that the yardstick we use for others will be the yardstick which time will use for each and every one of us. Stand up. Stand up. No ban, no wall. No ban, no wall. No ban, no wall.
Thank you, Father Brendan. Now we will have Bishop Miller from Evangelical Lutheran Church.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. My name is Wayne Miller. I serve as the Bishop of the Metropolitan Chicago Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, but I am also with you today in my capacity as the President of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. I am deeply honored to be with you all here today, and I must also say greatly encouraged to see all of you here with me today. By way of introduction, the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago is now more than 30 years old, having been started in 1984 at the urging of Joseph Cardinal Bernardine in partnership with a variety of denominational leaders. Since then, the Council has grown to a membership of 40 leaders representing a wide range of religious traditions. We gather regularly for the purpose of building friendship, understanding, and deep awareness of the concerns and perspectives of our diverse communities. In addition, the Council addresses matters of general concern for the health and well-being of the people of Chicagoland, including gun violence, racism, health and public safety, environmental stewardship, just public policy, and I emphasize just public policy, and access to quality education. Among the stated core convictions of our council are the following. 1, all people are interconnected. When one suffers, we all suffer. When one rejoices, we all rejoice. We are called to bear witness to this solidarity, particularly in the face of the unjust persecution or oppression of another faith community. And 2, we believe that religious communities have a responsibility and obligation to speak and to act in the public square for the sake of the larger community and the world. The recently issued executive order singling out, marginalizing, banning, and scapegoating groups based on their Muslim faith and their ethnic origin stands in fundamental contradiction to these core convictions. It is outrageous, and it is unacceptable. And make no mistake about it, we have seen this before, and there is none of us that is safe. So you can count on the fact that we stand in unequivocal solidarity with those who suffer hardship, threat, or emotional trauma because of it. No ban, no wall, justice for all.
Known of the Resurrection Project.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
My name is Erendira Rendon Variega, and there's going to be a quiz, so I hope you got that. I am a Catholic undocumented Mexican. My dad came to the United States when I was 8 months, and he was supposed to go home after a few years, but he never did. So after 4 years, I came to the United States with my mom and my brothers. So my mom behind, she had to leave her family, she had to leave her country, she had to leave her food and her customs behind. She took her kids and she crossed the border with a lot of fear, but she came because she loves me and because she loves my brothers. The love that my mom feels for her children is the same love that a mother from Syria feels for her children. Her country is the same reason that moms from Iraq, from Iran, from Yemen, from Libya, from Somalia, from Sudan leave theirs. They leave and we leave everything for the people that we love, for our families, and because we want the absolute best for our children. Being undocumented has always been hard. It's always been really fearful. I'm always scared that I'm going to be separated from my parents. And just a few days before Trump signed the executive order banning Muslims, he signed an executive order that will no doubt lead to millions of deportations, perhaps including my parents. So I am here today because for many years I have marched in immigrant rights marches and fought for immigrant rights, and my friend Aklam has marched with me and has stood with me. And today I am here to stand with her. And we both know that attacks on either one of our communities are attacks on the other communities as well. And we know that these attacks will continue, and as deportations rise and Muslims continue to be attacked, we will make sure that we will stand together and keep fighting together. Just like everybody keeps saying today, no ban, no wall, no justice for all. The process of deportation, or me or my brothers, know that you will be with us, and together we will continue to proclaim no ban, no wall, no injustice for all. We are America.
Next we will have Oscar Chacon, the co-founder and executive director of Alianza America.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. My name is you greetings from Alianza Americas, a national network of Latino immigrant organizations bringing communities from around the country to tell you that we are proud to be standing with you today. I'm also bringing you greetings on behalf of my partner organizations in the We Are America Coalition, an entity that brings together organizations like Lutheran Immigration Refugee Service, Church World Service, America's Voice, the National Partnership for New American, the International Rescue Committee, just to mention some of them. Just last Friday, 35 events in 22 different states where we proudly stood together with our brothers and sisters to tell you that your concerns, your fears are also ours. And we absolutely stating clear and loud, no ban, no wall, justice for all. Keep in mind that Latino communities have a long history of understanding these pains. when Operation Wetback was launched in the 1940s, rounding people up just because of the way we sounded or the way we look, and be sent back to Mexico, sometimes not having even been born in Mexico. So we understand very well this moment that we are going through, and one thing we should be thankful to the people in the White House today, Stephen Bannon, President Trump. They are absolutely bringing us closer together. Go back to where we were. We must absolutely aspire to be in a better position as this struggle unfolds. I am proud to say that we are going to be making every effort we can so that we can get to know each other better. Not just be standing in solidarity with one another, but truly make our struggles be one and the same. I'm proud to be with you, brothers and sisters. No ban, no wall, justice for all.
Thank you, Oscar. Now we will have Salim Sheikh, a board member of CIODC and the Islamic Foundation, to talk about the important
faiths. My respected and dear Senator, as well as Representative Raja, all the brothers and sisters from Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and all the other faith communities, welcome to the Islamic Foundation. Our doors are open to you anytime and all the time. We are here for you. Now, I speak to you as a loyal citizen of the United States of America. I became a citizen in 1975, having immigrated to the United States in 1971. America, the great nation, has given much to the world in terms of leadership and hope. In Bible, John chapter 8, verse 32, Jesus said, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth is that in the 50s and the 60s, Europe was coming out of Second World War. China was fourth-rate country. Nobody knew about China. And America was the unrivaled nation when it came to progress, technology. I remember as a young youth growing up in Pakistan, we used to think of America, the hope of the world. We look to it with awe, admiration, and love. It was a beacon to all nations and to the whole world. And that is what made America great, an unrivaled and unmatched nation in the world. Today, fast forward, where China is the second largest economy of the world, challenging America when it comes to selling machinery, consumer products, and capital to the world. In this changing world, friends matter. Alliances matter. They are crucial, I would submit. There are 56 Muslim countries and 1.5 billion people, 1/5 of the humanity on the face of this universe. Who do we want? On whose side do we want those people? In the side of China or in the side of the United States of America? These people, 1.6 billion, they are consumers. They are a huge market. They will either go to China or they will come to the United States of America. These nations are rising economically and technologically. Look at Indonesia. Look at Malaysia. Look at Turkey, which is the 17th largest economy today in the world. Make no mistakes about it. Islam and Muslims are rising. They are rising economically, technically, educationally. Muslims also stand in a very proud tradition of justice, on equality. These are glorious traditions. They are also people with a long history of scholarship, contribution of medicine, and many other fields. Today, if you look up at the National Geographic of the last couple of months, you will find on the front page the abolishing and the doing away of the loss of eyesight. Look inside and you will see a name, Mark Hamayoun, a son of a Pakistani immigrant who is working on the forefront of banishing the blindness from the world. And he was given an award by Barack Obama for the technology, for the achievement in technology. So, we as sons and daughters of Islam, as well as these sons and daughters of America, as Muslims, want and are the ambassadors to the Muslim world. We are the ones who travel the world, and we see the China rising everywhere. Those of you who do not travel, I just want to make you aware of that we see China everywhere. So, we want the decisions made in Jakarta, Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia, that are favorable to America, not to other nations of the world. So remember, USA. And look around, We, the Muslims, according to Joe Scarborough, represent 10% of the medical graduates and the physicians in this country. We are physicians, we are lawyers, we are IT specialists, we are every field that contributes to the brain power of America. So this community serves America, will serve America, and will serve all its citizens. May God bless America.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a beautiful scene from the place I'm standing, and mashallah, I did not expect that large number of people to come today, but it speaks for the time and the moment. When I was in O'Hare Airport on Saturday, and I saw the spontaneous demonstration against the Muslim ban, and I saw more non-Muslim faces than Muslim faces in the demonstration, I felt that this is something that really touches the heart and the core of who are we as Americans. Who are we as I saw white, Catholics, Jews, Latinos, African Americans, and Muslims standing together with their brothers, Muslims brothers, against the Muslim ban. And this is a Muslim ban. And sometimes people may want to make it look like not it is, but it is a ban against Muslims. And we have to be aware that there are some extremists in this administration that don't want only ban Muslims, but also they want to register Muslims. And we have to be alerted for this, and we have to work again together against these extremist views that are not consistent with our values as Americans. And one of the people who we can trust to be our voice in Washington, D.C., in the Congress is with us today, Senator Dick Durbin. In the last 2 weeks, I thought that I'm living in Syria, where you have someone who thinks that he is above the rule of law, above the law, who owns the country. But we have checks and balances in this country. We have a Congress, we have a court, we have grassroots organizations, we have a media, and all of them were represented here. And we need to use these checks and balances to make sure that our president does not think that he owns the country like people in the third countries and dictatorial countries think that they are. And that's why I decided that this is the time all of us should we invest in our local community. Whether you are Syrian, or Palestinian, or Pakistani, or Latino, this is the time that we should highlight the fact that we are first American, that our local communities are more important than other issues that we are caring about. Senator Durbin is our voice in Washington, D.C. Post 9/11, he called the council office and he told us that we are with you. I am with you. He visited the office of the Council of Islamic Organization of Greater Chicago. After we had the Quran burning, he visited us and he said, we are with you. The first letter that was sent by senators against the Muslim ban was sent by Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth. He introduced the bridge law against enforcing or removing DACA students. And we are proud that he is senator from Illinois. Without further ado, let me introduce Senator Dick Durbin, a voice of reason, a voice of moderation, a voice of leadership, a voice of the people to the Congress, and he will be with us and sharing some comments.
Assalamu alaikum. My fellow immigrants, first a word to our Syrian friends who are here today. It is with a heavy heart that we think of the humanitarian tragedy which has taken Iraq and in so many other nations of the Middle East. It was Dr. Salul and his fellow doctors who had the courage to go to Syria in the midst of the war to treat the victims, who came home with those photographs and showed this senator in graphic terms the suffering that was occurring. First, a tribute to them for their courage in using their medical skills to help them in a And in this wonderful family, there was Suzanne, who was working so hard with the Syrian refugees. And when our governor announced that he would publicly stop Syrian refugees from coming to Illinois, I reached out to her and we sat down with those families to assure them that they were still welcome in the land of Lincoln. This is the most significant humanitarian tragedy of my lifetime. Millions of people have died, millions more have been displaced. This last week, to meet in Washington with King Abdullah, an extraordinary man whom I admire so much, whose nation has absorbed millions of refugees, Palestinians, Syrians, Iraqis, and others. And somehow they managed to survive. But he is a lesson to all of us, of a man who is willing to risk his power as a monarch to show a caring heart for those who are refugees and asylees. America can do no less in this time when we face this humanitarian crisis in the Middle East and around the world, where we have more refugees than ever in the history of the world. That is the reality. It is hard for me to imagine. The only time I was ever in Syria was 17 years ago in Damascus. I had a meeting with the new leader, Hafez al-Assad. And I didn't know anything about him, and he was brand new and didn't know much about governing. We met in his palace. He said, be sure and visit the mosque in Damascus, which I did. And then I told him we were going to cross the Bekaa Valley by car to go to Beirut. Oh, don't do it, it's too dangerous. We did it anyway. The crazy things you do. But it was a safe country. There were problems, the problems we all knew about, but it was a safe place to live. And many great things, many great examples of culture and history were there. And now, today, to look at the wreckage of Syria and realize what has happened to that great country is heartbreaking. This historic moment is not just about this humanitarian crisis, though. It is an historic moment in the United States of America as well. The lessons of history should not be forgotten at this moment. In the midst of World War II, under the leadership of a president whom I deeply respect, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, The United States of America made some of the worst decisions in its history. We placed in prison camps 120,000 Japanese Americans in the midst of the Second World War. And we turned away request after request by Jews trying to escape the Holocaust in Nazi Germany and come to the United States. The worst, the SS St. Louis, you know the story. Sadly, we all know the story. The ship of 900 passengers left Germany to come to the United States to escape the Nazis. They landed in Havana, Cuba, and were turned away. They landed in Miami, Florida, and were turned away. They went back to Europe with 900 passengers. Several hundred died in the Holocaust because we would not let them come ashore in the United States. Senator Robert Wagner of New York, an amendment to allow 10,000 Jewish children to come to the United States from Germany. It was defeated in the United States Senate. 10,000 children. Luckily, after that war, the United States reflected on what we had just done. And with some pity and shame, we said we are going to change. We are going to set an example for the world when it comes to refugees and asylees. And we did. We kept our word time and time again to lead the world in accepting refugees. 450,000 Cubans who escaped Fidel Castro's communism to come to the United States for freedom. Did they face extreme vetting? No. When they put their foot on the shore of the United States, they were welcome. Today we have 4 Hispanic senators in the United States Senate. 3 are Cuban Americans. Have the Cubans made a contribution to the United States? You bet they have. They were not alone. We accepted over 120,000 Jews from the Soviet Union who were facing persecution for their faith. We opened our homes and our communities to these Jewish refugees to come to our country. And whether it was Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Somalia, the list went on and on. That was the definition of America. A definition which you can find on the base of that statue outside the harbor in New York. Give me your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, your tempest-tossed. I lift my lamp beside this golden door. That is who we are. And now, at this historic moment, someone is trying to redefine America to the world. In the 17th day of his presidency, Donald Trump has made history. He is the first president in the history of the United States, the first, to ever have an executive order stopped by the federal courts within 2 weeks of his presidency. He is the first president of the United States to ever dismiss an attorney general in the first 2 weeks in office because she said, I cannot in good conscience enforce your executive order. And what we are seeing at the airports across America, in the streets across America, what we see today in this gathering, are people stepping forward and saying, we will not let this happen to America. We will not let this president define America. We know who we are. We are a diverse nation, proud of our diversity. When I said fellow immigrants earlier, I meant it. My mother was an immigrant to this country. She was brought from Lithuania at the age of 2. And now her son has the honor of representing you in the United States Senate. That's my story. That's my family story. That's America's story. And we gather today to try to pass the message along to everyone that we will fight with every fiber of our being and all the strength we have to put an end to this divisive order that stops refugees and immigrants from coming to the United States, to put an end to this mindless wall that the president says needs to be built between us and Mexico, to make sure that we stand up for immigration as part of America. 16 years ago, we had a call in our office from a Korean lady who had a daughter who'd been accepted to music school in New York. Theirs was a poor family, and she had a chance to go to the greatest music schools in our country. Juilliard School of Music, the Manhattan Conservatory of Music, but she was undocumented. And so we checked the law, and the law was clear. She had to leave America for 10 years and apply to come back in. Leave and go where? She had been here since she was a little girl. And that's when I introduced the DREAM Act. DREAM Act, which basically said for girls and boys just like her, who came to the United States not by their own decision, and who were undocumented through no fault of their own, they deserve a chance to go to school, to prove themselves, become legal and citizens in America. That is what the DREAM Act says. Now, thanks to the leadership of President Obama, over 750,000 of them have the protection of an Obama executive order. The protection that they won't be deported, that they can work, that they can go to school. We don't know what the next executive order will say, but I will tell you this. If they're coming after the dreamers, they're going to have to come through me. And I hope that you will also take their cause as your own as well. The last word I want to leave is for the children who are here, the young people who are here. A message to them. It must be hard for them to understand what we're talking about. This nation that we're talking about. This new president that we're talking about. It must be difficult for them to place themselves now in this country, in this world, and think about the future. And I think we've got to give them clear messages. My first message is, be proud you are a Muslim. It is a noble, peaceful religion that inspires values for millions and millions all around the world. Be proud that you're an American. This is a country of immigrants. And some immigrants, the sons of immigrants, end up with good government jobs. Be proud of your family. Because when all else fails, it's your family, isn't it? That you turn to and count on. Be proud of them. Also understand that among all the voices out there, you may only remember the harsh and hateful ones. But there are many others who are on your side, standing with you throughout your struggle. Remember as well that when you have endured this, and we will, you have an obligation to stand by that next group in America that is going to face this kind of intolerance. That's what we do in this country. We stand up for those who are being prejudiced, treated in unfair ways, even if it's not our own, but they are our own as Americans, and that is what each generation is asked to do. So I tell you this morning, this afternoon, as I gather with you, what an honor it is to stand for you in Washington with my colleague, Senator Tammy Duckworth, who was with me all the way. Do not lose hope. Do not give up. Do not believe that we will allow this country to be redefined as a country motivated by hatred and fear. We are a country, a hopeful country, a diverse country, proud of our heritage, prouder still that in the future we will march together, first as Americans, to keep this country safe, which we are all dedicated to, but to keep this country strong in its diversity, to honor those who honor American values, and to fight with every ounce of strength we have against those who do not. Thank you so much.
Senator Durbin,
make my job very difficult right now. I'm so honored to be here. My name is Suzanne. I represent the Syrian Community Network. I am Muslim, I am American of Syrian descent, and I am woman. Hear me roar. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. We stand with the American people in strong opposition to the announcement which turns our backs on Syrian refugees and the refugees from around the world, every time, from everywhere, from every conflict. Let's be clear. We have the worst refugee crisis in our lifetime. There are 66 million refugees, and 4 refugees is Syrian. In the US, we have only resettled 18,000 of the 4.8 registered Syrian refugees. Is that enough? No! In Chicago, we have 140 families, which is about 700 individuals, mothers, fathers, children, just like you and me. For Donald Trump to make this announcement during his first days in office is like taking a wrecking ball to the Statue of Liberty, dishonoring our best values, and disgracing U.S. leadership abroad. One family in particular was resettled here in Chicago about 5 months ago. The father, Khalid Haj Khalaf, and his family. His oldest daughter, Bara'a, who's 25, her husband, and her infant daughter were due to arrive in O'Hare last Monday. But because of this ban, they were told not to board their plane. They were not allowed to board their plane. Bara'a and her husband and her infant daughter lived in southern Turkey. They gave away all of their belongings. They didn't sell their items to other refugees because they didn't want to make a profit from other refugees. They gave them everything they had. They took a bus and drove for 17 hours from southern Turkey to Istanbul, only to be told the devastating news that they are not allowed to board their flight. Imagine the reaction of this family, who have been separated for 5 years from each other. Upon hearing the news, the mother suffered a severe panic attack and had to be rushed to the hospital. The father, who was supposed to have a surgery or a procedure because he had a kidney stone and he was in severe pain, had to postpone his procedure because he needed to take care of his wife. Luckily, Khalid had the procedure 2 days ago, and I called him this morning to check on him, and he's doing well, and he had some good news for me. He said that his daughter received a phone call from IOM, the International Organization for Migration, and they told him to stick around in Istanbul, not to go home, because there is a chance that they may board their flight after all. Bartlett from the State Department's Director of Refugees Resettlement wrote that officials were working to rebook travel for refugees who had previously been scheduled to leave for the United States over a 3-week period, and that until end of February 17. A State Department official said the extended time frame accounted for the fact that some of the refugees will have to make the difficult journeys back to airports from their refugee camps. So this is great news for this family who is so hopeful that Bara'a, her husband, and their infant daughter will make their flight. My organization, the Syrian Community Network, we work with all of the resettlement agencies. We help them resettle with dignity. We provide this community support, we provide rental support, and on March 4th we are hosting a refugee jobs fair. So if you have a business, if you'd like to sponsor our jobs fair, or you'd like to hire refugees, please reach out to us. About the vetting process. There's a lot of confusion about how do refugees come here to the United States. Based on the recommendation from the UNHCR, a family, after they go through a tough screening process, refugees must pass through a series of security screenings, including biographic and biometric checks, medical screenings, forensic document testing, and in-person interviews. The information is examined to confirm a refugee's identity is checked against law enforcement and intelligence databases, including those of the National Counterterrorism Center, Department of Defense, the FBI, Department of State, and the Department of Homeland Security. How can anyone who wants to cause us harm pass through this rigorous screening? I ask you. all of the families who are here in Chicago have told us the same type of information, that they were asked over and over and over about their life in Syria, what did they do in their host country, what do they work, and what is their educational background. And if the stories did not match, their file was immediately dropped. So I ask you all to support us, to support this beautiful gathering. I'm so humbled to see everyone. I'm so humbled to go to the airport and to see the amazing turnout of people who are supporting refugees coming into the United States. Thank you so much. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome.
Alaikum and good afternoon. My name is Hind Makki, and for the first time in over 15 years in my advocacy on behalf of American Muslims, I'm at the podium speaking to you on behalf of my specific ethnic community and the people from the 6 other banned countries. And as a Sudanese American, I have this to say. This quote by a Queensland, Australia Aboriginal leader, Lila Watson. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up in mine, then let us work together. In this first week of Black History Month, I'm acutely aware of the millions of souls who died on the way here to the United States, kidnapped and enslaved, a large percentage of whom were people who were Muslim. I'm acutely aware of the men and women and children who spent their entire lives in bondage building this country. And they were from the other side of my continent. Today, a continent from which 3 countries, refugees, immigrants, and people are now banned from coming here. So I'd like to offer my gratitude to our elected officials, to our civic leaders, to our religious leaders, our interfaith allies, to the civil rights organizations, and to regular citizens, my neighbors, modeling what active citizenship looks like, modeling what democracy looks like, modeling what America looks like. Right now, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Right now, my friend Janan, who is an Indian immigrant born in Qatar and immigrated to the United States when she was 16 years old, is actually at the Luke Synagogue offering a letter that she wrote on behalf of herself as a Muslim mother, but also on behalf of the Chicago Muslim community, standing in solidarity because our liberation is bound up in the liberation of our Jewish sisters and brothers. I want to share some words of what the Sudanese community, specifically here in Chicago, has been dealing with over the last 10 weeks. This is not a new story. The Sudanese community in Chicago is roughly 3,000 to 4,000 people. We're very small. It's a very tiny minority of the city. But we're a community that literally makes the city run as taxi drivers, as doctors, as engineers, as teachers, like my mother is. For 20 years, the Sudanese diaspora across the world has suffered under very heavy international sanctions, and because of that, many people cannot find their living in Sudan, and they leave their countries, and many of them have found their way right here. If you ever have a Sudanese taxi driver pick you up outside of Union Station, talk to him, and you might hear that this is a man who was perhaps a law professor at the University of Khartoum. This is a man who has 3 children who he is proud of sending to Chicago's finest colleges. That this is a man who pays taxes and votes and cares about his family back home and funds their lives. Sudanese Americans also have to deal with this intersection of not only Islamophobia, but also anti-Black animus. So while Sudanese and Somali brothers and sisters are currently dealing with the executive order abroad and are banned from bringing their families here, they themselves here in Chicago and in the country have to deal with this anti-Black animus where their own bodies are criminalized by our culture. I think it's really important. I think it's really important to highlight the fact that 2 out of these 7 countries are black countries, that black people are affected by the ban, that black people are also Muslim, and Muslims are also black people. So finally, I want to mention that for the last 10 days, what I've been doing as an American-born U.S. citizen, I have been privileged to leverage my own solid standing as a citizen and speak on behalf of fellow Sudanese who are green card holders or here on student and visitor visas. And I have been able to connect them with lawyers through the ACLU or through CARE, and I've also been able to share their stories. However, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of confusion because the laws are, keep changing, and people, as I mentioned, this is a small community that does not have a lot of leverage on its own. And I want to just introduce you to one family that I met on Friday. I was having a Know Your Rights session at the Sudanese Resource Center on the north side, and I met a man and his 2 sons, and the man told me that he and his wife are naturalized U.S. citizens. Their 2 older children were born and raised in the United States. Their last child happened to have been, by accident, born in Sudan because his mother went to Sudan to be with an ill family member. This child has a green card. This child is about this high. He has beautiful big brown eyes and curly, gorgeous hair, and he was so scared when his father was asking me, do I continue to apply for citizenship for my son? This boy looked at me and I could read in his big brown eyes that not only does he know that he's seen as a threat as a Muslim, he also realizes, I think, that he's going to be seen as a threat as a young black man. And I want that little boy to know that his liberation is bound up in the liberation of the young Jewish people at the Loop Synagogue downtown. Bound up in the liberation of our Boy Scouts that we saw an hour ago. That his liberation is bound up in the liberation of young black and Latino men locked in the school-to-prison pipeline. And in the liberation of the dreamers and the undocumented who also find their liberation in his. And his liberation is bound up in the liberation of all of us who say, E pluribus unum. No ban, no law, justice for all.
Ban is affecting refugees and how this ban is affecting those who are new to our country. How many of you have been here for 10 years or more? Look around this room. Please turn around. How many of you, keep your hands raised, are impacted by this ban, or your families are impacted by this ban, even though you've been here for 10 years or more? This ban says to us that we need to think about our identity, about who we are, in ways I never had to for decades growing up as an American. A very good friend of me texted me the other day and said, Dilara, you know my mother just got diagnosed with breast cancer. Mommy wants to do Umrah, Dilara. She wants to go to Mecca in this summer. Do you think I should make the plan? She's wondering how this ban will impact her and her family, even though we know it won't impact citizens right now. My work as an educator takes me to many different universities across the state. In a rural university in central Illinois, several of our scholars are doing very, very poorly this semester. And so I had a chance to go out there and talk to a few of them and say, what's happening? You're an excellent student and you're about to graduate and become professionals. Angelo, one of them, a sophomore, a 19-year-old young man, said to me, and if you can imagine him running his fingers through my hair, though you can't see mine, Dr. Saeed. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, I'm in a constant state of anxiety. I have friends and family members who are undocumented, and I don't know whether they're going to be taken tomorrow, or 2 months from now, or half a year from now. Dr. Saeed, for the first time in my life, I have Muslim friends, and I don't know how their families are doing through all of this. I feel like it's all on my shoulders. This is a 19-year-old young man about to begin the rest of his life. A U.S. immigrant, legally here all his life, and yet he's struggling with this. Just because we have been here and are here doesn't mean this isn't impacting us. So Susan called me the other day. She's actually on the board at the Naperville School Board. And she said, how do we support our Muslim and our non-citizen students? Because we know they're being bullied at school. The culture now has opened an opportunity for people to say things and do things that they would never have said or done before. So she said, how can I help? How can I empower you and your community? And I did say to her, Susan, we don't need your empowerment. We will take care of ourselves in terms of being empowered. But Susan, we need your partnership through all of this. We are looking for partners and alliances to work together. The Latino community, the African American community, the Hispanic communities of all different backgrounds, the LGBTQ, others who are struggling through these opportunities that Trump has brought us to come together, as our earlier speaker said, but challenges that he's put in our way when we walk together. The two issues with the bans and the walls that really trouble us, you and I, maybe not refugees, maybe not those who are new immigrants, are two. One is an execution issue. Thousands of Border Patrol officials don't understand the ban. And when they don't understand the ban, and we are traveling, as we have the right to do, it jeopardizes our status. And that's an execution issue when this executive order was passed. The second issue is strategy. Yes, this is a temporary ban for 3 months on 7 countries. What is their long-term strategy? And we have to understand it. And as Manny said earlier, we read the 5 pages of the executive order. Know your rights. Know your rights and the haq in our language and in our culture of what you have before you, and be able to understand the strategy. Those two things, along with the legal fights, will actually help us become the empowered generation we should be in America, along with great partners with others. Senator Durbin, about 6 months ago, we were in an African-American art gallery in the south side of Chicago, and he said, Delara, Muslim Americans need to do one thing. They need to tell their stories. They need to tell their stories to their communities and to all the communities across America and around the world. So here's a little bit about our story. I'm standing in front of you here today as the child of immigrants who immigrated as a little one herself. I wear this scarf on my head. It is my identity, it is my hijab, it is unapologetically who I am. I don't have to prove to anyone that I'm an immigrant. And I hold in my hand a couple of documents that mean a great deal to me. One is my naturalization papers that I got when I was 16 years old and became a citizen of the United States of America. And 2 is my passport. This passport allows me in and out of the borders of my country. It proves that I am a citizen of the United States of America. So, if you have a passport If you have a legal status in this country, stand up right now and let us know. Stand up for a second. We've been sitting for a long time. All right, a chance to end the day, as all the chants are. Tell looks like. This is what America looks like. Tell me what America looks like.
This is what America looks like.
Tell me what America looks like.
This is what America looks like.
That's right.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. We are almost done. But first, I would like to recognize the York Township Democrat
Village of Villa Park. I've been sitting in the front row, listening to all of these amazing stories and stories of inspiration. We're sitting in front of the flag here. This flag is our flag. It belongs to what we see going on here today is a sign of unity, a sign of strength, and a sign that we all have a voice. I often talk about, with our residents here in Villa Park, the strength in numbers and the strength of your voice. This is another extension of what we do every day in Villa Park. So I want to thank you for being here. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and welcome. Thank you.
The most important part of this event, first of all, I would like to really recognize a few people here. I would like first to recognize Husna Bora, who is the Civic coordinator of the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago. She would be very busy in the next 4 years. Hopefully not more than 4 years.
Not would be, already am.
Contact her about issues related to the council civic engagement, and we have very busy schedule linking with all the good fight. The second one I would like to recognize is Brother Ahmad Ali from the Islamic Foundation. Very instrumental in preparing this event, and also for Ahlam Jabara. Without her help, we would not be able to This event was arranged by the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, CIOGC, which is a federation of 65 member organizations, mosques, schools, civil rights organizations, social service organizations, refugee organizations that represent the Muslim community of Illinois in its diversity. And as you've seen, we have very diverse community. And also without our partners in the faith and civic groups, the Catholic community, the Christian community, the Jewish community, the Latinos, the African American, this event would not be successful. I'm really more indebted to you than to my own community, because without your presence in the airport, on Friday in our mosque, and today, we would have lost a large, important part of our community. This is not a Muslim issue, this is I would like to recognize also a national organization that is represented by its leader, Brother Osama Jammal, who represents the United States CMO, which is a council of Muslim organizations, linking all Muslim organizations at the national level. And also Sister Simi Chowdhury, who is representing the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Emanuel. Simi, are you still with us here? She left, but she was with us here and she represented the mayor. Also, I would like to represent the people who have no passports. Not only of people who are holding passports, but people who are naturalized citizens, people who are undocumented, people who are immigrants, and we are all proud of all of your contribution. And we will support you until we have comprehensive immigration reform, that every person who is living in this country and contributing to the welfare of this country feels that they are part of Israel. Having a passport does not mean anything, by the way. Being American and contributing to the welfare of your community means a lot. The most vulnerable people who will be impacted by the Muslim ban and the agenda of Steve Bannon are people who are students in the schools, Muslim women who are clearly Muslim women, because for me, my patients think that I'm Puerto Rican or Latino. But for my wife, everyone knows that she's Muslim because of the headscarf that she is wearing. So we need really to be, first of all, cognizant of the fact that the affected by this ban is not me or you, but people who are going to school will be bullied, and the women in the street, and also our refugees who do not have voice. So we have to be the voice of the women and the voice of the refugees, because these are the people who have as you have seen, Muslim women have very strong voice in our institutions. Most of the people who spoke today were women, and we are proud of the contribution of the women to our Muslim institutions. So what to do next? So on Friday, I was in downtown Islamic Center, and some other mosques also have actions, called actions, where you have people from the Catholic community, from the Jewish community, from the Latino community, from civic groups coming to your masajid and showing solidarity. It looks like it's spontaneous, but it is not spontaneous. It took a lot of preparation. It took, first of all, a national coalition of civic and refugee and immigrant group and faith groups to decide that we will do this action. It took collaboration of coordination committee like the Council of Islamic Organizations in Greater Chicago. It took the contribution of faith partners in the Catholic community, the Jewish community, to be part of this. So without action, without strategy, without plan, we will not be able to fight the good fight. So it is very important for each one of you today who was witnessing this event and witnessing the affairs in the last 2 weeks to be part of this action and this strategy. So we need to mobilize first. Mobilize means that when we have a demonstration, all of us should be coming to the demonstration and telling people to come to the demonstration. When we have an event like this, you made us very proud. We have to show up, and we have to show that we are a united community. Black, white, Republican, and Democrats. We are not partisan. And sometimes we may have a message against Republican, but we have very good Republicans who are identifying with the core and the essence of this country, and they are not liking what they are hearing from Trump and supporters. Mobilize. Secondly, advocate. When someone asks you to call the Congress, to call your congressman, to call your senator, to call the White House, you have to do that. It is your minimum responsibility. This is the minimum of faith, as we say in the Islamic tradition, just to pick up the phone and call someone. The fact that we did not have that many congressmen today is not good. Good for the people. Yes. Where is a congressman who represents this area? He should have been here and telling us and sharing with us that what he's doing on behalf of our community. People who represent this area did not pick up the phone after this event and called the Congressman Raja, who was supposed to be here. That means there's a problem with your faith. Not only problem with your American ship, but with your faith. Call your congressman and tell them that we are in need for your help, and you are hired because of us, and you are our voice. Senator Durbin, because he's our voice, he can hear and tell us what he's doing on our behalf. And every congressman, every senator should be doing the same and show solidarity with the Muslim, with the Latino, with the immigrant community, with the African community, because this is what this country is built on. You are hired, you are voted by the people to represent the people and to speak on behalf of the people, not to speak on behalf of corporation or interest group.
We are the people.
We are the people, so show it. So show that you are the people by picking up the phone, by writing an email to your congressman. So mobilize, advocate, support your organization, support the Council of Islamic Organization, support your Care Chicago, support MBA, support Syrian Community Network, support SAMS, support the Islamic Foundation, the Mosque Foundation, Mecca Foundation. All of these institutions are working to empower the Muslim community so they can be at equal level with everyone else. We believe that we are contributing to the welfare of this community. I'm a physician, I'm healing patients. Some of you are physicians, some of you are attorneys, some of you are writers, some of you are artists. This is what America is built on, about the diversity of this country. So make sure that empower your organization, because without strong organization, we will be very weak. Empower the council and empower your own organization. Mobilize, advocate, and come to our event. So we have a major event coming on April 27th. This is called Illinois Muslim Action Day. So where we have Muslim, young and old, coming to Springfield to advocate for legislative agenda that is not Muslim-centric. We advocate about things that will benefit our society, our cities, our state. So come join with us this year. It has to be very special. Last year we had 200 people in Springfield. This year we want to have 2,000 people in Springfield. Muslims, Catholics, Jews, all of us united together to empower and improve our community here in the state of Illinois. All politics are local. Even though that sometimes we hear these rhetoric from DC, but without local politics, without connecting to your legislators, state representatives, state senators, then we will be very weak. So make sure that you empower your community by empowering your local politicians and connecting to them. And finally, donate. Without money, without resources, nothing can be done. This institution is built on resources. MashaAllah, in the Muslim community, in our partners, we have very wealthy individuals. I'm going to ask you today to donate for CIOGC, because this is an event that was organized by CIOGC. Yep. So, write a check to CIOGC, or you can put $25, $50, and this will be going to...
You can donate online as well.
You can donate online, and this will be going to empower the Civic Engagement Council of the CIOGC. We have a lot of work to do, building coalitions, working with our partners, and empowering our community, building bridges of love to overcome hate. And in order to do that, we need a lot of resources. So donate to the council, to CIOGC, and you can put in the memo, stand with Muslim Fund. Stand with Muslims Fund. And we need volunteers. We need many volunteers in the new in this next 4 years, especially in this year. So you can call CIOGC to volunteer 312-506-0070. Thank you very much for the Islamic Foundation, for CIOGC, for each one of you. You made our day great. And now you can go and celebrate the Super Bowl if you are interested in the Super Bowl. Muslim Action Day, no problem.
In the name of God, the Beneficent and Merciful. O our Lord, Lord of the heavens and the earth, we ask you to shower your mercy and bestow your guidance upon this gathering. We ask you to gather us upon that which is good and protect us from that which is ill-spirited. We ask you to allow us to promote that which is virtuous and prevent that which is displeasing to you. We ask you to allow us all to be a part of the positive change that we wish to see implemented in this country. We ask you to make us productive citizens of this nation and allow us to stand for one of the essential principles that it was built upon, that all men are created equal. We ask you to grant us solidarity and unity and make us strong against that which threatens our values and our freedom. We ask you to foster compassion and understanding amongst all of us. We ask you for your infinite blessings and pray for peace and cooperation between all of us. Please forgive our shortcomings and elevate us in your eyes and guide us all to that which is pleasing to you. And all praise belongs to you. You are the one whom we turn to, and it is you alone who responds to our prayers. God bless you, and God bless the great people of the United States of America.